Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to this manic post-draft Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Man, I got to do it. I got to introduce our guest here. He has been a very, very, very dear friend of mine. We met in 2014, right after the Spurs won that championship over Miami. We've been brothers since, and now he has called it a career. Folks, time for a little mic to mic. One of my brothers in broadcasting and in life. As he's a little sideways here. We're trying to get everything together.
Nice upside down.
He's upside down. There you go. There he is. Please welcome Bill Schoening. Bill, how are you, man?
And the crowd goes crazy.
Congratulations, Mr. Schoening.
Congratulations, my friend, on a fabulous 24-year career as the voice of the Spurs. And also your 12 years as the voice of the Texas Longhorns. You recently retired from being the voice of the Spurs. How does it feel now that you had time to decompress and not worry about things so much?
Yeah, I tend to worry about things. So it's been good not to worry about stuff, not to have any do any game prep for the last couple of weeks. But I'm not quite through the decompression phase, or as I always say, the decomposing phase, because I decompose for a week or two. As you know me, Brian, I love to go out and do music and listen to music. And that first week I was doing so many interviews and doing so many exit type stuff, things that I didn't have time to go do the music stuff. So the second week I went out, I think I listened to 6 or 7 gigs this past week. So I've been catching up on the music. I've written about 4 or 5 songs that are in the can right now. So not ready to go into the studio just yet, but they're written and ready to go. So I'm going to go in the studio with those pretty soon when I find time. My wife wants to travel, so we're doing a cross-country drive starting on Wednesday. And then we're going to do Croatia and Slovenia in June because, as you know, Snowman, a lot of players now are coming over from that part of Europe. So Luka Doncic, of course, from Slovenia. We've had a couple of players in the Spurs from Slovenia through the years, Rasan Osterovic and Beno Udrih, and they tell me how beautiful it is. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So we're going to do a lot of that. A lot of music, obviously, a lot more writing. I've written 1 book. I probably have another book in me somewhere along the line. So I'm very, very thankful and blessed, though, Snowman, because I'm 66 years of age. So, but I feel healthy enough and young enough to be able to explore some other things, and I don't want to give up the play-by-play mic just yet. I think I'll do some football and maybe some baseball next spring. We'll see. I haven't really lined anything up yet, but I'm hoping I'll get some opportunities to do some stuff like that, just on a part-time basis, though. No more 82 games a year. No more of that.
And extended it, the Spurs getting to the playoffs as they have in the past. So it could be as many as 97 or 100 games in a season, because I had a chance to follow Tom Dore when I was in Chicago covering the Bulls, and of course y'all know my inspiration, the late great Jim Durham. Sure. So I had a chance to follow him and how.
Well, I don't know if you know the story. I don't know if you know the story completely, Brian, but Tom Dore is a very, very important part of my career. Tom Dore hired me in 1989 at KLBJ in Austin. He was the sports director at the time, and I was at Sam Houston State. So it was a big jump up for me to go from Huntsville, Texas to Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after he hired me, Tom got the job as the University of Missouri play-by-play guy. So he left shortly after he hired me, and I kind of assumed his role. I went into the sports director job. So all of a sudden, I go from being at Sam Houston State to the University of Texas. So that was a big meteor. I was an overnight success. It took me 10 years to get to KLBJ after working small markets. But so, yeah, somebody wrote an article about me. I was an overnight success. I said, not exactly. It was 10 years in the making. I had to kind of pay some dues to get there.
We in this business, we all do. What was it like being the voice of the Texas Longhorns, a position now held by a mutual dear friend of ours, Mr. Craig Way, who's always on who's always on the go. Love listening to him. But what was it like being the voice of the Longhorns?
Well, it was great to have Craig as a partner for the 10 years I did play-by-play, because he was an analyst and he was very, very good, always prepared. And as a play-by-play guy, he knew what the analyst role was. He knew not to repeat the play-by-play guy, but rather than to look at something other than the ball. Of course, the play-by-play guy follows the ball. The analyst has to see where the block is, or if the linebacker filled the gap or whatever. So he was really good at looking away from the ball, which is hard for a play-by-play guy to do. So congrats to Craig for what he's been able to do since I left. But the 12 years I was on the Longhorn Network, 10 of them play-by-play, I was able to follow some great players. Ricky Williams, I had his whole career as the play-by-play guy. So I got to cover a Heisman Trophy winner during his entire 4-year career. Baseball, we had a couple of really good players during that period of time. Brooks Kieschnick, who played for the Cubs, was the 10th pick in the draft. One of the best college players I've ever seen, because he pitched and was a great hitter. And then during basketball, Rick Barnes came in to replace Tom Penders. So there was a really good period of time there with basketball going to the tournament every year. So really, those years at the University of Texas are years that I'll always cherish. I never thought I'd leave Texas, to be honest with you, Brian. I thought I was going to retire as the voice of the Longhorns, but out of the blue in 01, the Spurs basically made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So, and knowing the future, we had no idea they were going to win 4 championships while I was there, but I felt like their future was bright. Tim Duncan was just coming into his prime. They had just drafted Tony Parker. No one knew that Manu Ginobili was going to become the kind of player he was and became. So it was a really great era to be part of that whole thing. And, they won 50 games in a row for 18 straight years. It was an unparalleled level of success and consistency from one team for a long, long time.
Yeah, and we had met, like I said, in 2014 after the Spurs won their title over Miami. It was fun talking to you that morning. It's always fun talking to you and sharing experiences. Close with this. I had 2 shots to work with you, one in Charlotte and one in Indianapolis. And I always get butterflies seeing you prepare and seeing myself prepare. But I got to share this. I got to share this funny story. When we were in Indy, I was doing a great job keeping up with the stats and everything. And all of a sudden, by the 4th quarter, my brain and the rest of me just smacked into the wall. And I was just so exhausted because my mind got to thinking, I got to get back home to take my daughter to work. And Bill said something, and Bill zinged me on the air when he said our statistician is Brian Snow, who kind of lost his way a little bit. And it woke me right up, and I'm cracking up the whole time. That I've had so much fun following your career. I cherish the moments we shared together, and the 2 times I had a chance to work with you. You've always been a good brother to me on and off the mic. And Bill, I just want to say,
I appreciate you and the kind words, but don't keep saying things in past tense. I've tried to tell people over the last couple of weeks, I'm retiring, but I'm not, I'm not going away. I hope they're not digging a hole for me somewhere, So,
no, not at all.
I want to stay active. I hope to still do some games. I hope to still show up on occasion, maybe get an occasional
if you do some
call.
games, you better let me know which games you're doing so I can tune in and listen to you.
If I need a Snowman stat man, I got one, right? So, and Brian, I might write another book. I got more stories that I haven't told and more experiences. So, hopefully we'll keep this going for a little bit.
Absolutely. Bill Schoening joining us here on the program. Bill, always a pleasure. I love you, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.
Amen, brother. Good to talk to you. Good luck to you, Snowman. Keep it going.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Oh man, always a pleasure to have Bill on the show. And he did zing me in Indy because like I said, I was just so tired. I was flying high, okay? And we talk about this a lot, the 4 of us getting our health together and trying to keep it together. I had caffeine on the drive to Indianapolis.
Uh-oh.
What the hell you do that for?
There's more. I got to tell that whole story. Is I hope for that to be not the last time that Bill and I work together. I want to work with him so many more times. But I got the okay to be his statistician in Indy. And that day, I wanted to make sure that I got some downtime after we did the show. And I told everybody after we did the show, I'm gonna get some downtime and then I'm driving to Indy because I was working with Bill. I never got the downtime.
Oh no.
And you fool! Exactly. I deserve that one. Because when I hopped in my car and headed toward Indy, Victor, you know me. You've ridden with me so many times.
Mm-hmm.
If I start hitting the wall, I get very quiet.
Yeah, you do.
I get very quiet. And I felt myself getting quiet and I said, oh no, I got to get something. So halfway to Indy, I stop at a Speedway. And y'all know, besides Circle K and Sheetz down in North Carolina, Speedway is my gas station of choice. Stopped at Speedway right outside of Edinburgh. And I got one of these. Of course, it was red, and it was a little bigger. What did I put in this thing? Coca-Cola.
Rip.
And no ice.
Oh no.
I didn't
Straight
dilute
up Coke, dude.
I didn't dilute it.
Nope.
Because y'all know me. I usually have my drinks with ice. But since I've met Jody, the ice has gotten lighter and lighter, and I can understand why. My daughter, my beautiful daughter, Sonia, taught me that trick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Sonia taught me that trick. But I get the drink. I'm flying to Indy, and there was nowhere to park. I already know the caffeine's wearing down. I said, oh no, I better park fast. Fortunately, there was a spot right across the street from the arena. I parked in there. They got me situated. I run across to Gamebridge, got in, got my press pass, and on my way to the media room. In the media room, met all kinds of people. And then Bill, smooth as he is, walks up, he shakes my hand. We're talking a little bit. He had to go get his pregame interview, and it was with Quinn Buckner, TV analyst for the Pacers. I'm doing good. I fly through the first 3 quarters. By the 10-minute mark of the 4th quarter, I was dead. Kaboom. Even fortified my caffeine with a couple more drinks in the media room.
Not enough.
On top of pizza, on top of chicken salad, croissant, on top of a few other things. And then I forgot something very important.
Oh no. Water?
There was a dessert tray in the media room.
Oh no.
Victor, you've been with me. Okay. I hit that dessert tray because my stupid brain thinking, okay, one more rush. I'll get through the next 2.5 hours and then I'll be ready to drive home. Didn't think about the fact that I had to go get my beautiful daughter and take her to work. I'm thinking, go home, crash. Nope. I crashed in the 4th quarter. I'm sitting there staring at the floor, not writing anything down, not looking at the screen or nothing. And Bill he playfully let me have it on the air. And I deserved it. And by the time he signed off, both of us were cracking up laughing. And he's getting ready for his next game. And I also had the pleasure of meeting Mark Boyle, the fabulous radio voice of the Indiana Pacers that night.
Nice.
For all the times that Bill introduced me as legendary, I will never forget that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're getting back into the draft stuff. And to the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers,
you're screwed. Yeah, you're totally screwed.
back after, yes, and that's how they drafted. Back after this.